All right. Every Monday, 7:55, or if I'm 3 minutes late, 7:58. He's a Hall of Famer. He has not been a regular contributor on a show in 3 years. And we love the chance this entire football season, every Monday, to talk to Ray Didinger. Ray Diddy, how are you, sir?
Doing very well, Joe. How are you doing?
Oh, to say the least, Ray, tickled that you're going to be part of our show this year on a weekly basis. Thank you. Ray, why are you doing this? We're going to get to the Eagles in a moment, but I am curious why. I mean, I know you still love it. Why weekly?
Oh, because you suggested it.
Way to go, Joe! Hey, way to go!
Nice,
Okay.
nice work.
Thank
Joe.
you. So anyone?
And thank you, Ray.
All anyone had to do was ask.
Yeah, I mean, we had been doing once a month.
Yep.
You know, and you and I had a conversation 6 weeks ago or so that would you be open to possibly doing it every week during the season? And I said, sure, it's fun. Why not? So here we are.
I love it, Ray. Well, listen, it's going to be great. So let's get to it, Ray. Let's start with this. Your biggest takeaway. I know it's been a couple days now, but as you get that mind back to Friday night, when that game was over, what was the main thing going through your mind right after the game?
Relief. Glad that it was over. Glad that the whole Brazil thing was gone and they're flying home with a win. You know, that was the first thing. You know, I was not a big advocate of the I have never been a big advocate of the international thing of football. I just really haven't. And I thought the idea of flying 10 hours to play a home game to me seemed preposterous on its face, but and then to go down there and then play on that field, which you wouldn't want to put two high school teams on that field. So I mean, there were a lot of aspects about it that were unnecessary and I thought annoying. But the bottom line was let's just win the game. Let's get to 1-0 and get on with the rest of the season. And that's kind of how I felt. But beyond that, in terms of just the team itself, I think you said it well. I think there were some things that were really encouraging, some things that you were hoping to see that you saw, and some other things that left you okay. We still got some work to do, but to be sitting here 1-0, that's a good place to be.
All right, Ray, what did you make of Jalen Hurts' performance?
Uneven. I thought that there were times, some things he did, I thought he did really well. But the interceptions were really troubling. The first one, the down the middle into all the coverage, was just a terrible decision. And then the other one, in the end zone, running to his right, throwing across his body, hanging the ball up there, making it an easy pick at that point in the game. Can't do that. You just can't do that. One of the things that we talked about, all the things you hope to see from Jalen Hurts this year, and I'm one of the people that felt like he was going to come back and have a big year, and I still do. I really do. But one of the things, and people talked about, is he going to run more? Is a deep pass going to come back? All that kind of stuff. To me, the thing above all else was decision making. His decision making went from being so good 2 years ago to being highly suspect last year. And I was hoping that with this summer and with Kellen Moore coming in, and what we had heard was a really good, healthy working relationship between the OC and the quarterback. Again, we had a couple of examples of really poor decision-making, and that's the kind of stuff he's got to get out of his game.
Isn't that the kind of thing that you need to practice at full speed in game situations to get better at doing in full speed at game situations, right? Like, don't you feel as though the experience of running this offense and calling the protections will lead to Jalen doing this more smoothly as soon as next week? I mean, it really is the reps that he needed to get, in my mind. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's part of the reason why, I mean, you could argue the idea that playing him in a preseason wouldn't be the worst thing. And I know they're dead set against it, and we're probably never going to see it. But there's something to be said for getting those reps in preseason games because he needed to get them. I mean, working in a new offense and working with a new offensive coordinator, there was a lot of stuff. There were going to be new looks, and that were going to lead to new decisions that he was going to have to make. And the only way you can get those, you can't get those in practice.
Right.
No matter how many times Elliott Shore Parks can log every one of those plays, but in practice. But it's practice, and you only get that feel, and you only get those looks in live action. And okay, the first live action was Friday night, and some of it was good, but some of it was bad.
Right.
But it's all the kind of stuff you can work out over time. But the big thing is, listen, you beat a good team. You beat a good team under very, very difficult circumstances. The travels to start the season that way, to play on that field, to play against a good opponent. You weathered all that. You got the win, and you came home. And everybody deserves some credit for that.
How much of the sluggishness that we saw from Jalen, I felt like he was a little bit slower than I expected. Last year, I felt like he looked a little bit slower than I expected. We found out after the fact that he was nursing a knee to some capacity. What do you think accounted for the sluggishness or the slowness or whatever we saw from Jalen on Friday night?
Yeah, I thought I kind of saw the same things that you saw, and I was looking to see more of the RPO stuff and more of him on the move. The things that we've seen him do in the past, I was looking to see that kind of back in the game, and I think it probably will be. I think it probably will be. I wonder how much the field had to do with it. I wonder how much they.
That's what I thought.
I mean, they couldn't. Nobody could decide what shoes to wear. Nobody could decide how many cleats to wear. I mean, you saw them on the sidelines. The equipment managers, had the wrenches out the whole game. Fixing guys' shoes and change these, take these cleats off, put these cleats on. And I think that probably could have influenced it a little bit. Look, we don't want Jalen running around a whole lot on this crappy field. Let's just do what the players we got to play and get out of here.
Yeah,
and I think the footing probably had something to do with that.
I think there's something to that also. I do believe it was like an organizational decision. Okay, guys, this is dicier than we thought with the footing. Let's call the game accordingly. Let's warn Jalen accordingly.
Well, right,
We have a direct line into his helmet.
So,
we're going to tell him, hey, be careful. Protect yourself. Guard yourself. Right. On this play, if you get this look, get down.
Yeah, but Ray, look, we'll see. Obviously, I mean, I agree we need to see him on a clean field to truly know. But my instincts tell me he's just not the same player athletically that he was 4 years ago, 5 years ago in his earliest days. I mean, that game he played against the Saints when it was his first start, he had just taken over for Carson. I remember thinking, all right, he's not as fast as Randall, Donovan, and Vic, but he's in the conversation. And right now, he just, to me, looks like he's not in the conversation of that. But we'll see over the next couple weeks. It does concern me. Ray, let's get to other aspects of the team. Bryce Huff, are you concerned out of the gate?
Yeah, it got to the fourth quarter, and I started asking, did he make the trip?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and these were some of the questions that we had in the off season about it. I mean, not to be negative and not to be looking for things to criticize, but, they paid this guy a boatload of money based on one season, and it was fair to ask, was it one season? Or is this really reflective of the kind of player that he is? And we weren't going to know that until we got to see him in live action. And not much. You really didn't get much from the edges in this game. I mean, Sweat played pretty good. I thought, I thought Sweat played okay. But other than that,
he
your
had a
edge
tackle
guys
for loss.
Yeah, your edge guys didn't give you much. And if for this team, for this defense to really come on and start playing really good football, I mean, the kind of football that can win you a division and win you games in January, you're going to need to get more from the edges, and you're going to need to get more from Huff for sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to judge him on one game, but for one game, it was not exactly what you would call an auspicious debut.
But don't you think it's I don't know, encouraging, Ray, that even though we didn't get pressure from the OLBs, Vic Fangio dialed up pressure from the ILBs, the Mike and the Will, the guys who stand off the ball and inside instead of on the line of scrimmage and tearing off the edge. It's still linebackers getting to the quarterback when Zach Baun gets there. And the bottom line was we did generate pressure. Is this much ado about nothing if we get the quarterback sacked anyway?
Sure. I mean, that's the thing that Vic is really good at. I mean, Vic has been a really good defensive coordinator for a long time in a lot of different cities with a lot of different personnel. Some of it good, some of it not so good. But he always is very good about adapting his scheme to the talents of the players that he has. And if he's not getting what he needs from one particular group, he'll get it from somewhere else. I mean, he's not wedded necessarily to one principle or one philosophy. He's going to do what he needs to do, not just game to game, but series to series to get the results that he wants. And that's what he did in that game. I mean, I think he probably went into it probably thinking he was going to get pressure from the edges because he's got good edge players. But when it wasn't happening, he said, okay, well, that's not working. And maybe the footing had something to do with it. I mean, we all saw what bad footing did to the pass rush in the Super Bowl. Maybe that had something to do with it, too. But when it wasn't there early, then he adjusted and he began getting interior pressure. And I think that was one of the encouraging things that both from Baun and from Dean, when he needed to send them, they got the pressure of the quarterback.
So, Ray, did you realize that Zach Baun had that in him? Did Vic Fangio realize that? Is, you look at the stat line, he had 15 tackles and 2 sacks. Like, that is, and QB. Well, I guess the QB hits count as the sacks, but it really is an incredibly productive interior linebacker line in a box score. You never see stuff like that.
Well, so, Ray, every once in a while a guy does something in game one, like Michael Carter-Williams had Magic Johnson gaga on Twitter after his first game, and then the guy had a horrible career. So we'll see on Zach Baun, but, I mean, I was stunned by how good he was.
Yeah, he was. And, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew he was a pretty high draft pick. He was a third-round pick coming out of college, and everybody knew he could play a little bit. Didn't show a whole heck of a lot in New Orleans, but okay, he comes here and new surroundings, new defense.
That's maybe playing a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's maybe you've really found something here. And you're talking about the stat line. Yeah, 15 tackles was pretty impressive. Got some pressure on the quarterback, but I thought one of the plays that stood out to me, was the drop on the pass route. When he got the depth underneath the receiver, forced Love to throw the ball maybe a little higher than he wanted to, and it turns into the Reed Blankenship interception.
Yep.
That play is really made by the linebacker getting really good coverage underneath and making the quarterback make a throw that he really didn't want to make.
That's a play. That's a play Brian Urlacher would make. That's a great play.
He's a bigger backer also. Like as an inside backer. As inside backers go, being 6'3", whatever he is, 235, like I like seeing that. More versatile, a guy who can actually take on a guard when need be.
All right, Ray, one more for you here. I had the thought watching the game, I don't know if you have or if you're ready to go there yet after one game, but watching Quinyon Mitchell, my thought was best Eagles rookie cornerback since Eric Allen. I know it's a game, but, man, this guy looks like a baller.
Yeah, and no surprise to me. I mean, I before the draft, I talked with you guys on the air. I remember having that conversation when you were asking me in this draft class, who do you like? And I said immediately Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, I really did, and I know there was some concern about small college player and all that kind of stuff. Look, I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and going up against the best receivers in the class. Forget the small college stuff. He was going up against the A-list guys,
and he had the confidence right away, Ray.
Immediately, and that was the thing that really impressed me was he stepped on the field with all of these these superstar D1 players and all these receivers, and he lined right up on them with no fear.
That's huge.
And he was, and
you just know.
And, I think that he to play that position in the NFL successfully. Physical talent is a big part of it. But a lot of it is just how you're wired mentally and emotionally. Do you have the mental toughness to go out there and play on that island against the best receivers in football? Sure. A lot of it is just that. And he had that. He demonstrated. Now you don't want to, 1 week in Mobile does not make a career, but it can tell you a lot. And I came away from that saying, this guy is every bit as good as I thought he was going to be. Now the amazing thing is, and to me it's still amazing, frankly, is that you got him at 22. I mean, I never would have thought. To me, he was the guy I wanted the Eagles to get, but I certainly thought they were going to have to trade up to get him. To stay at 22 and have him fall in your lap is an incredible stroke of good fortune. But I think they absolutely have themselves, a guy who's going to play a lot of football for him, and I think he can play multiple roles. We've seen him in the slot. We've seen him on the outside. I think he can play pretty much anywhere you want to put him and be a really good player. So, for his first game up here, he was absolutely equal to the moment.
Ray, we are thrilled you're going to be joining us Mondays at this time on a weekly basis. We look forward to the journey, hopefully to mid-February with you. Thank you, Ray.
Always a pleasure to be with you guys.
All right, there he is, the Hall of Famer, the Diddy. Coming up, Jaws on Jalen Hurts, what he said about Hurts post-game, plus Sirianni. We had the audio of Sirianni in the locker room after the game addressing the team. We'll get to that and more of your phone calls on all of these topics. What stood out to you from the Eagles on Friday night? And if you want to comment on the Phils weekend, you can as well. Joe DeCamera, John Ritchie, it's 94 WIP.